Good day, my plant foldies. This is Richie at Grow Folds, and today we'll be big box store plant shopping at the Lowe's off of Preston Road in Frisco, Texas. As always, please make sure you're hitting the like button for this video, as well as following me on Instagram at Grow Fold. That is the fastest way to get in touch with me directly if you want to connect. And today, right after work, I was able to do some filming, and I wanted to show you some more plants that are available at big box stores. You can see that we've got some holiday plants right here, some live Christmas tree plants. It is that season where we're going to be seeing a lot of dwarf Alberta spruce plants, pine trees, and cypress plants. So we're going to see what we have available. Obviously, I want to go highlight the indoor tropical plants. Costa Farms has actually been releasing a lot of new crops of indoor plants. But you already know, if you are watching my plant shopping videos, especially for big box stores, I want to highlight all types of plants, whether it is the indoor tropical plants or the outdoor gardening plants. I love plants in general, and it is amazing that we've really grown our plant community at Grow Folds, my plant foldies. And again, for those that are new to the channel, I call my viewers and subscribers plant foldies. And just a little bit of insight, because people are asking why I call my viewers and subscribers plant foldies. Originally, this plant YouTube channel was an ASMR origami channel where I was basically doing daily origami paper crane ASMR videos, but I've pivoted back to one of my biggest passions, which is to share my love for plants, whether it's indoor tropical plants or outdoor gardening plants. So I wanted to show you a couple of outdoor plants. Look at these gorgeous chrysanthemums, for instance. So, as far as like the fall seasonal plants, you definitely will see a lot of mums, or what you call chrysanthemums. I really love those plants. They are perennial plants. So if you were to grow them in an outdoor space, depending on your grow zone, my grow zone is 8B because I am actually based out in North Dallas. These chrysanthemums, when grown outdoors in a landscape, you can potentially get them to come back year after year. We've also got a bunch of croton petras, and with the fall season, we do see a lot of crotons, but as the season change, as we get into the holiday season, at least in the United States, you will see these crotons be replaced by a bunch of like conifers and pine trees and cypress trees. But I'm going to walk around here and just highlight a couple of the outdoor plants. You already know, as far as big box store plant shopping videos, I like to just showcase these outdoor plants. So I'm just going to walk around and show you what they have available at this Lowe's. It's super exciting to just be able to go and show you all of these plants. I know that if you are an avid Grow Folds plant foldie, you will have seen these videos or these plants on previous videos, but I like to talk about them. That's the exciting part about doing daily plant shopping videos. I can give you my plant insights. And you can see right over here, we do have a Tradescanthia sana. So with Tradescanthias, I love these plants because they're versatile plants. You can grow them outdoors as a hanging basket plant, or even indoors as a hanging basket plant. They love to trail. And then we also have a variegated Rodeo oyster plant. I love the pink color of this particular plant. I love pink plants. I see that in all of my videos. But for $4.98, you can see that we have a Rodeo oyster plant. Now, this plant can be grown indoors as a house plant, but they actually do better as a patio plant. Bright indirect light is a really good source of light for this particular variegated Rodeo oyster plant. These can get pretty big, and they also shoot out little pups, so you can actually grow and propagate a bunch more. That's how you would actually multiply this particular plant. Again, this is another plant that's pretty versatile. You can grow them indoors, but for the most part, people will grow them outdoors. That's the whole question about certain plants that are really more conducive to indoor settings. I would just say And I say this about like the variegated rodeo oyster plant. It's the same thing with coleus plants. Some people believe that coleus plants, tradescantias, even begonias are really meant to be grown outdoors. But for me, it really just depends on your plant aesthetics. As far as like indoor tropical plants, people will say the philodendrons, the pothos plants, those types of plants are really meant to be grown indoors. But to go back to all of the plants right here, you see that we have an aloe vera diablo. This is by Oasis Plants, and you can see that the borders around it, we have a bunch of like the red, and it's just interesting the diversity of plants we can run into, even with the aloe vera plant. And for those that continue to watch my plant shopping videos, I honestly just love the fact that you guys have engaged with me, continue to watch my plant shopping videos, because it is very therapeutic for me to go to a big box store like Lowe's to just take you on a plant shopping journey and just to be able to talk about plants. Like for instance right here, even though this variegated ajuga is really meant for outdoor gardening, and you can see that these roots are super healthy, I actually want to be able to grow this indoors. And some people will say that this looks more like an herb or even some type of vegetable. I like the look of it. And as far as people saying there's certain plants that are just more so indoors, honestly, there is not an indoor plant that really exists. As far as like an indoor plant, there's just certain plants that most people will grow more so as an indoor plant. But I always say, let's push the boundaries and see if we can grow some other plants that are more commonly grown as an indoor plant. So I want to kind of highlight that. I also want to take the time to show you plant products. So you can see that this is a supplement that you can actually get the beneficial bacteria in plants, or at least in the soil, to actually help the plant grow a little bit more established with its roots. And then you can see right over here, this is some type of spider plant. And what I like about the spider plant is you can see that it will push out even more babies. And I just find that interesting. Certain plants, whenever you propagate them, sometimes you have to propagate them through plant cutting propagations, but some plants will shoot out actual babies where you can chop them off and actually propagate them from the mother plant. And then there are certain plants, like for instance Aglaonema, and you already know, if you watch my videos, I want to get all of you guys, all of the plant foldies, to start growing Aglaonemas. But for instance, Aglaonemas you can actually propagate, because Aglaonemas will push out little baby pups that you can separate from the mother plant. But for instance, these spider plants right over here, and I really love the fact that these are only for $19.89. You can get several little babies that you can propagate, and that's an interesting plant here. I do find spider plants as another plant that is highly underrated. Most people will actually overlook it, and that's the thing about growing plants in an indoor tropical setting, or at least indoor tropical plants in a plant collection. A lot of people will look for the more variegated rare aroids, but for me, it is all about what brings you joy and what plants interest you. For instance, like I love the fact that, there are some encore azaleas. I love azaleas. They remind me of a Japanese garden, and I have always tried to establish my outdoor garden in my backyard as a Japanese garden. The thing about it is, with azaleas, a couple of things you want to consider if you're going to grow them in a garden. You want more acidic soil. So to amend the soil to make it more acidic, I would utilize coffee grounds. And then as far as growing, encore azalea or even these gardenias, you want to make sure that you plant them in a soil that is going to be fast draining, acidic, and then also water them a little bit more frequently. You really don't want the soil to dry out completely for a long period of time. Otherwise, these particular plants, like the gardenias that we're showing here and the azaleas, they have very fine roots, and that's how they really decline in the health. Now, as far as this Lowe's location, you can see it's super full, and being based out in the North Dallas area, I am very fortunate, very lucky to be able to go to multiple big box stores to be able to find plants, whether it's indoor tropical plants or outdoor plants. As far as a plant foldie is concerned, like I really want to see your plant insights. I always ask anybody that will give me the time to watch my videos number one, please make sure you are hitting the like button. So if you're logged into a YouTube account, definitely hit the like button, because that helps me out in terms of getting this content pushed out to more plant lovers like yourself. And then also just leaving comments about your favorite plants, any plant insights, any plant commentary. I absolutely love that. I love any type of engagement that I can receive. Hopefully it's always going to be a positive one. And then you can see right over here, if you notice that these labels, if they're crossed out, basically that is an indication at Lowe to tell you that this plant is on clearance. And typically whenever it's on clearance, it's 50% off. And that always goes back to the whole fact that big box stores, especially Lowe's, you can actually save a really good amount of money. You can actually save money on your plant collection, especially when you're looking for plants that are on clearance. And you can see right over here, that is another Tradescanthia. That is called a Tradescanthia pistachio. Really like the look of that as well. If you notice, the foliage is a little bit larger. It kind of reminds me of a Tradescanthia nanuk, but a white, a variegated version versus the pink ones. Now, these are plants that you can grow as an outdoor plant, maybe even as a ground cover. And then you can even see right over here, I did want to show you some ferns. So this one is for $9.98. Ferns can be grown as an indoor plant, but what I would say about ferns is the common denominator, or the current or the most common plant care tips for ferns, is you really don't want their soil to dry out completely. If you're able to give them a little bit more humidity, they do better. But you can see right over here, we have another Tradescanthia pistachio. Really like how large the foliage is, and this is super easy to propagate. You can take cuttings and you can stick them directly into the soil, or you can just do a water propagation where within like a day or two or maybe 3, you'll see some roots. They're very fast to root. And then you can see right over here again, we have some ferns. I am not the best at growing ferns. That's why I don't really have a lot in my plant collection, whether it's outdoor or definitely indoors, because these types of plants require a little bit more water. And, identifying yourself as somebody who doesn't water often, especially me, I am what you call an underwaterer. I don't water my plants nearly as much. And really that's due to the fact that I have a very busy lifestyle. Certain plants are not really conducive to me adding into my plant collection. But, as far as all of the plants you see at an outdoor section like this, I mean, this is a container, a mixed container with a Croton petra and then a gorgeous looking Asiatic jasmine. Really nice color combination. Some people will do their own custom like containers of like potted up plants, but I like the fact that at a big box store like Lowe's, you can find custom made planters like this. This is for $32.98. It's more of a fall type of patio container plant, but you can see over here that we do have some remaining Croton petras. The thing I will say about Croton petras is they show up especially in early October for the fall season. And I think that it is a seasonally relevant plant in terms of just the fall type colors. However, Croton petras are really native to Southeast Asian countries. I am from the Philippines originally. My family's from the Philippines. And I will say this plant really should be in an environment where it has tropical conditions, high humidity, full sun. And so I always find it quite interesting, especially in the United States, where people will buy these plants as a fall type plant because of the fall colors, but they don't realize that, number one, crotons do not like cold weather. And in the fall season, at least in the United States, it gets a little bit cold. And then number two, they require quite a bit of light. So, crotons can be grown in full sun. And it's just interesting, and that's the thing about like the plant business or just the plant community. There are certain plants that I feel strongly about that should not be seasonal plants. Croton petras are one of them because putting out those crotons in a colder environment in the fall season, it makes the production of the plants really pointless, because a lot of those plants end up going to plant heaven. And I don't want to put a negative spin to it, but I think the average person buying a plant, especially for seasonal plants, they don't realize that these plants are really out of their element. And I feel very passionate about educating people about what those plants really mean. When you think about like the fall season, And then you think about the winter season, you see a bunch of like Norfolk pine. Norfolk pine come from a Norfolk island where it's not necessarily cold, but since it looks like a live Christmas tree, it ends up being a winter or a Christmas type plant when it's really not. Same thing with poinsettias. Poinsettias are actually endemic to, I believe, Mexico, which is more of a climate that is not really cold. And I don't know. I know that I'm giving you guys some plant insights, and I just find this YouTube channel as a platform where I can just give you my personal opinions about plants. And, you know, it's been a fun journey for me to be able to just go to a big box store, highlight these plants, be able to talk to them, talk about them and give you plant care tips, or just give you my plant insights. I utilize a lot of these plant shopping videos as more of a personal blog. I love to talk about plants. It just excites me. And the fact that you guys have actually taken the time, invested all of your time to be able to watch these plant shopping videos, I can't thank you enough. But I also want to see that we have that open dialogue in the community. You know, whenever I am going to these big box stores, like, it's interesting how this one at least says you can enjoy this particular plant for years to come. So yes, you can actually grow this particular, I think this is a dwarf Alberta spruce, where yes, you can treat it as like a live Christmas tree, put your Christmas decorations, but then after the Christmas holidays, you can actually plant this in a landscape and it becomes a focal plant. It does need full sun. And so as far as these like holiday live Christmas trees, I think that they can only grow for so long indoors, but you really want to grow them outdoors if you want to actually keep them going. And I understand that, like big nurseries will push out seasonal plants, like, all of those like live Christmas trees, all of the crotons that we see in the fall season. But it's just very baffling to me that a lot of these plants that are grown for the season, at least in the United States, end up going to plant heaven. And for me, whenever I look at certain nurseries, it takes a long time to grow these plants to some type of maturity to where you can put them at a big box store. A lot of these plants, like for instance, even these succulents right over here, look at that gorgeous orange color about it. I'm not really versed in succulents, but a lot of my videos, especially in the future videos, I want to make sure that I'm highlighting like succulents and cactus, because I feel like there is a certain person that loves these certain plants. I do believe that plants have a universal appeal. However, we do have our own like interest in terms of what plants we're going to be picking out. But to go back to the whole like seasonal relevance of certain plants, I just think that there is a lot of waste when it comes to plants. So you got to think about it. A lot of these plants end up going to a big box store. They have taken a lot of time to grow. They are in plastic containers. But how many of these plants actually go into a home that can provide the right conditions for these plants to grow long term? Plants are supposed to bring people joy, but then I also just think about the carbon footprint about certain plants. I feel like a lot of these plants that end up in these big box stores might end up becoming more wasteful, and it's a whole discussion in terms of just like how many of these plants are produced and how many of these plants actually end up in the trash and then just end up creating more pollution because of all of the plastics. And I know that I'm really delving into a lot of these plant insights. I know that a lot of our plant foldies, or even those that accidentally, and I say accidentally, click into my videos, because I am thankful that some of my videos are being recommended to more than just the person that has been watching my videos. But like, has anybody really sat down and thought about the impact of plants in terms of the plants and our environment? How many plants actually make it to a home? How many plants end up making it into the trash? And I don't want to put this as like a negative, connotation as far as like big box stores, but there is just such a huge demand for plants. But then again, how many of these plants end up like growing into a home where they actually grow long term? And I know that I'm panning over a lot of these succulents, but this has really been on my mind. I mean, I see a lot of these plant restocks, and I am super excited. So I'm hoping that you guys will continue to watch this video because I do want to highlight a lot of the Costa Farms new releases. A lot of these big box stores, specifically Lowe's, has been getting a lot of like plant restocks. You know, the holiday season is there. I feel like there is going to be a plan for everybody in terms of like what plants you might want to potentially give to somebody over the holiday season. What's exciting is that, you know, I'm looking around here at Lowe's and you can see that we have several of these succulents, and they're pretty affordable. I love the fact that succulents, as far as plants, whether you're going to grow them as an indoor plant, or better yet as a plant that will be outdoor in your patio, that way they can get more light. It's just interesting. What plants are you potentially wanting to give as a gift over the holidays? You know, if you're going to ask me like plants that you want to, you know, give to people, I always say give a plant that is easy care. All of the videos I've talked about in the last couple weeks, you know, an easy care plant is defined, at least by me, as a plant that is number one, drought tolerant, number two, low light tolerant, and then number three, something that is cost effective, that is not going to break your bank. Like, you definitely don't want to just buy somebody, especially somebody that is beginning plants, like a variegated Monstera albo, something that's in the 3 digits. You want to find somebody that, you know, will get an easy to care for plant. So easy to care for plants are even succulents. You know, succulents, as long as you can provide them with a lot of bright light, whether it's bright indirect light or full sun, if you want to grow them outdoors, which I would suggest, you will be able to grow those long term. And as you can see right over here, Lowe's has a lot of succulents. I love the fact that they have mixed succulents containers, and then, you know, single source succulents. And as far as succulents in general, they're pretty cost effective, sometimes more so cost effective than even the indoor tropical plants. And I've started to notice those trends. You will see that there are a lot of succulents, like even this rainbow elephant bush, $24.98. You can see that there is a variegated version and then the green version. I did want to ask those that are watching this video today to leave comments about whether you appreciate just the green varieties of plants or the variegated versions. And you can see right over here, we do have a lot of succulents readily available, and you can see that the care tip is they want full sun. I always say whenever you go to a big box store, you want to actually do a little bit of research, have the intentional, purpose of buying a specific plant. Like I talked about, money saving ways. And one way is to definitely have a plant budget before you go to a big box store. Definitely have some type of idea of what plant you want to buy. So whether you're going to go to Lowe's to go say buy a living Christmas tree, like a Norfolk pine, definitely do your research on the plant care tips. Like I want to be able to provide plant care tips to all of our plant foldies. Sometimes I've been wrong about some of my plant care tips. A lot of my plant care tips is really based on my experience. Growing plants is all about experience. So either learning from others, doing your research online, but sometimes the plant care tips is not always going to be universal for everybody. Everybody has a different growing environment in their indoor space. Some people might have better lighting. Sometimes you might have like full-blown windows where you can provide indoor tropical plants with more light. And so that's the reason why I love to talk about, plants. I can talk to you all about plants and give you that insight. But as you can see, this Lowe's off of Preston Road in Frisco, Texas. It's right off of Warren as well. Warren Road, right next to the 99 Ranch. This is probably one of the best Lowe's to go plant shopping, because as you can see here, the outdoor section had a really good selection, but the indoor tropical section right here is always full, impactful, and also merchandise well. And that's another thing I want to say as far as like going to a big box store. Sometimes you have to be a little bit more picky, a little bit more judgy on where you buy your indoor tropical plants. I always say if a big box store has plants that are super organized and super full, that means that there is a staff that is actually taking care of the plant past the actual grower. Like for instance, Costa Farms, obviously if you have those plants from Costa Farms, somebody is going to be taking care of them, but once they make it into a big box store, it really falls into the big box store on whether they're going to take care of the plants. So be super picky, be very vigilant in looking at the plants, whether they are super healthy, because that way you're not going to invite plant pests. Because if you have a big box store that has plants that are dying or has potential pests, then it's not always a good idea to actually invest and buy plants. Now, I did walk over here because I wanted to show you poinsettias. Poinsettias is another example of plants that are more seasonally relevant to the actual season. So these are considered Christmas plants, even though they are a tropical plant. This one's quite interesting though, because this actually looks like a flower. Now the red parts of the poinsettia is not necessarily the bloom. The bloom is that tiny white bloom there, but the actual leaves are also colorful like that. I do want to buy a poinsettia, and the reason why I want to buy poinsettia is I do want to kind of join the bandwagon of having seasonal plants for Christmas, and this one is the one I want to buy for $9.98. This is a variegated type of poinsettia. Look at how gorgeous this is. I do want to try to grow this long term, and so for those that actually have poinsettia care tips, please leave that in the comments. I love the fact that a lot of the plant foldies, especially my most dedicated, most loyal viewers, you actually will share a lot of your plant care tips, and that's really exciting for the community, because I honestly am not aware of all of the plant care tips for poinsettias, but this one is absolutely stunning. And I want to actually refrain looking at poinsettias as a Christmas or holiday plant. I kind of want to remove that stigma and maybe look at it as a plant with beautiful red foliage. That way, if I decide to try to grow this long-term indoors as a house plant, I'll be able to kind of desensitize or actually just not look at it as a Christmas plant, because the sad part is we have so many poinsettias that are produced, for instance, for the Christmas or the holiday season. But I beg to ask anybody watching this video, how many of those poinsettias that we put in churches, we put in local communities or just people's homes will actually last after the holidays? I beg to differ and say that most people are not growing these plants in February or March. A lot of these plants might end up even getting tossed into the trash, and I don't want to come off as being a little bit negative when it comes to these seasonal plants, because maybe that's really part of the business. But I also want to look at these plants as plants that had a native environment. I did my research that some poinsettias are actually endemic or actually native to Mexico, and that's the thing. It's not a winter plant. It's not a plant that just comes out of nowhere in the colder months. These plants need to be in more warmer environments. And that's the same thing with the Christmas cactus. So obviously the Christmas cactus is a succulent plant. It is a plant that is going to require a lot more sun, or at least a lot more light. They only call it the Christmas cactus is because it starts to bloom in that time of the year. It's one of those, succulents that blooms at a certain time of the year. They also have, what they call Thanksgiving cactus, but these ones right here are what you call the Christmas cactus, and that is only for $7.98. You can see that it's starting to bloom. What I like about this particular plant is if you give it the right care tips, as in like water when the soil is completely dry, provide it with quite a bit of bright light, you will be able to grow a Christmas cactus long term for many years. A lot of people will have Christmas cactus that has been given down by, say, a grandmother, and it's actually an heirloom type plant. I think that's exciting. I think that as far as like growing plants long term, you should be able to grow a plant for years. Like, there is this whole like fast business where we want the instant gratification. We can go to a big box store, buy a plant, and maybe grow it for a year, and then sometimes that plant will either go to plant heaven or we just end up disposing it. I know tonight, or at least in this video, I am kind of rambling on and giving you my plant insights, but I just feel like there's not enough discussion about these holiday plants. Like, look at this. There's so many poinsettias. I am just really curious, and these are really, you know, cost effective, $9.98. Yeah, I'm buying a poinsettia today. Yes, I am buying that variegated poinsettia, but my goal is to be able to grow that poinsettia, not because I want it for the Christmas season. I don't really do a lot of like holiday decorating, to be honest. I don't even have my Christmas tree up. I don't really do Christmas trees. I only did that when I was, you know, a kid. That was something that I expected from my parents, but for the most part, I don't want to look at poinsettias as a Christmas decoration. I don't know if that makes any sense for anybody watching my videos right now. Yes, you know, if you are using poinsettias as more of like a holiday decoration, that is awesome. But I also want us to just think about these plants as a plant that you can potentially grow long-term as a house plant. You know, but maybe that's the reason why, you know, certain nurseries, certain big box stores or local nurseries will kind of succumb to having a lot of these available because they become more of a decorative, temporary thing. That kind of makes me a little bit sad because I don't think plants should be a temporary display. I think plants should be given a chance to grow long term. Now, for those that made it this far into the video, and I know I've been giving you a lot of plant insights today, plant foldies, but you know, I don't know, I'm just really enjoying the process of having this platform where I can talk to you about these plants. Let me know in the comments what you think about poinsettias. Do you think they're really meant to be grown for, you know, maybe 3 to 4 weeks during the holiday season and then people dispose of it? Or do you feel like poinsettias should be a plant that should be looked at beyond the Christmas or holiday season? Let me know in the comments below. And then also, if you made it this far into the video and you haven't hit the like button, please hit the like button. I know that I repeat myself in a lot of my videos, and honestly, I do not have any shame asking you guys to help support me. That is one direct way to grow this channel. You know, we are so close to getting to 12,000 subscribers. My goal is to hit 12,000 subscribers by the end of December. With your help of hitting the like button, that will be possible, as well as just that that engagement. So please do that. Now, as you can see right here, we have what they call the Amaryllis plant. So this is another example of a holiday plant that a lot of people will either give as gifts or something that is more readily available in the month of November and December. I remember somebody gifting me a bowl of Amaryllis, and what's really interesting is it was wrapped around a you know, some wax. I literally just set it in front of a south-facing window, and voila, you will see that it will sprout and then it will actually bloom. And I didn't have to water it. It just kind of just grew itself. And now what's interesting about this plant is, yes, it is one of those plants that again is utilized for the holiday season, especially for Christmas. But this plant can actually be grown into an outdoor space. And since it is a bulb, it would be considered a plant that could be potentially a perennial. And for those that don't know what the term perennial is, depending on your grow zone, and I would always recommend anybody watching my plant shopping videos, definitely identify your grow zone if you're going to be doing outdoor gardening. But Amaryllis can become perennials where they will come back year after year. And if you're going to ask me, especially if you're into the indoor gardening, perennials are what you want to go for, because then you don't have to keep buying plants year after year. They will come back year after year versus having to buy and then replant a plant. Now, this is what I was talking about, and this is the reason why I wanted to go to this big box store, is because I wanted to show you all of the Costa Farms plants. You can see right here, this is an Aglaonema red Siam, and I have been very passionate, very intentional about showing you Aglaonemas. For those that are probably tired of me talking about Aglaonemas, I do apologize, but I will continue to talk about Aglaonemas because I feel like this plant is a plant that is highly underrated, and it is a plant that I feel like if anybody is going to start a houseplant collection, you should get into it. Now this one is some type of bird's nest fern, and you can see that there is a combination of plants that you will find at a big box store. So you'll see urban jungle plants, live trend plants, and obviously Costa Farms plants. I prefer all three nurseries that provide at big box stores. I mean, you can see right here, this is an Anthurium super bum. This one is by Urban Jungle. I really love the terracotta look of the plant, the planters, and you can see that this one right here is a Ficus Audrey. Now, any ficus plant, they definitely need bright light. That is a number one requirement for a ficus plant. And then when you're watering a ficus plant, you can wait till the soil dries out completely and water it. The thing about ficus plants is they prefer consistency. So say you're watering your plant until it like dries out completely. You don't want to leave it with like long spouts of drought, whereas you're not watering it, especially the ficus lyrata or what the fiddle leaf is right here. That definitely needs quite a bit of light. But if you're gonna bring this plant into a space, find a very bright space, whether it's a south facing window or a west facing window, and then also make sure that you have a schedule where you're watering it consistently. Now over here is another trending tropicals by Costa Farms. You can see that this is an Alocasia reginea. I think that's how you pronounce it. The thing about this Alocasia for $19.98 is it is an Alocasia. We know that Alocasias, or at least I know that Alocasias are a little bit more of a challenging to plant, of a plant to grow indoors long term, because they can be a little bit more spider mite prone. They do require more consistency in the watering, and sometimes they just don't want to live in an indoor space. I say Alocasias actually do better in a shaded patio area outdoors. But if you grow an Alocasia in a semi-hydro substrate, like Lechuza Pond, they will do better for you indoors. Now this one right here is an Aglaonema Silver Bay. You see Aglaonema Silver Bay in all of my plant shopping videos. And again, that's intentional. I want to get everybody excited about Aglaonemas. This one is a common plant, but just because it's a common plant does not mean that that plant is not going to bring you a lot of joy. That is for $27.98 by Costa Farms, and it's a pretty solid plant to grow. And then you can see right here, this is what you call the lucky bamboo, but this is actually a Dracaena sandriana. You can see that this plant is by Costa Farms again, and you can see that this is more of like the twisted variety. Now, as far as care tips for the Dracaena sandriana, you definitely want to make sure that you're giving it quite a bit of light. Most Dracaenas are more low light tolerant, but the Dracaena sandriana, more bright indirect light and in more frequent watering will really get it going. And then you can see right over here, we've got some Philodendron orchids. You can't go to like a big box store or even a grocery store and not see a Philodendron orchids. It really baffles me that any time of the year, whether it's the coldest months of winter, you will find a Philodendron orchid, even though it is one of those plants that are basically from a tropical environment. This is another hanging basket by Costa Farms. So this is the rainbow moss, and for me, I am actually curious to see if anybody, number one, buys a hanging basket of rainbow moss for $20.98, and have you been able to grow this particular plant long term? Every time I go to a big box store and observe rainbow moss, after 2 to 3 weeks, it ends up just like dying, and it's just really sad. Now, this is a plant find, and it's an unexpected one. It's really nice to see that Costa Farms has re-released the Chameleon ZZ plants. So if you notice, ZZ plants are easy to care for plants, but notice how the new growth comes out as a really bright neon yellow color with even some veining. As far as ZZ plants, even the Chameleon ZZ, they're super drought tolerant. Like honestly, you should not water this plant until the soil is completely dry, and even then you should let the soil dry out completely and let it stay dry for a while before you water it. Now, ZZ plants in general are low light tolerant plants. However, for the ZZ Chameleon that I'm picking up here, and that's a Costa Farms trending tropical plant for $19.98, to maintain that beautiful neon new growth, or that variegation, or that just that coloration in general, you have to provide it with quite a bit of bright light. if you don't provide the Chameleon ZZ with quite a bit of bright indirect light or just bright light in general, it ends up reverting to more of a green, regular green ZZ plant. Now, as far as this urban jungle plant right over here, $14.98. Classic Dracaena Janacred compacta. This is a plant that most people will not pick up or buy. I think it's because people think that there's not a monetary value. It's not an expensive plant. But if you're thinking about a plant that's going to grow for you well long term, Dracaena Janacred compacta is where I would go. And again, I'm going to be picking up a bunch of these Costa Farms trending tropical plants, $19.98. This is a ZZ Chameleon, and it is absolutely stunning. So I did want to ask the viewers that are watching this video today, what do you think about the variegated or the ZZ plant Chameleon? Would you purchase this plant? I definitely love collecting ZZ plants. So I have a black ZZ, a ZZ Raven, a regular green ZZ, and then I am going to buy a ZZ Chameleon today. I think that as far as a plant is concerned, and I did talk about impulse buys. Yes, this is an impulse buy, but this is also a plant that I've had on my wish list. And I'm just super happy that Costa Farms has been able to re-release these plants. You know, sometimes I feel like Costa Farms gets a lot of wrath about just mass producing plants. Some people will even accuse Costa Farms of like taking away from small businesses because they're able to provide plants. But for me, it really depends. Some people buy at local nurseries. I buy local nurseries, small businesses, you know, plant shops of that nature. But I do find that, you know, Costa Farms, for instance, at least we have somebody or a nursery that's able to provide a lot of these exotic plants that wouldn't be so readily available. You know, big box stores, and that's the reason why I do a lot of big box store plant shopping videos, is because big box stores are more readily available for the general public. Local nurseries or local plant shops may not always be available for the average person, especially if you live in a place where it's more rural, or it may not be as big of a city, say as like North Dallas. You're really you know, your real option is really just to go to a big box store. And that's the reason why I think that Costa Farms is doing a very good job about just getting more plants available. Another nursery I like that provides at big box stores would be Live Trends plants. They have the most sleek, most modern looking planters. I love the fact that this is for $16.98. This is an Epipremnum Aureum Neon Pothos. Love Neon Pothos. And when you talk about plants that you can have multiples of, Pothos plants in general, I could have multiples of. Same thing with Aglaonemas because they're so easy to take care of. You can see right over here, this is a Marble Queen Pothos, for instance, for $16.98. Now, any Pothos plants, yes, they are low light tolerant, but when you put them in lower light conditions, they tend to get a little bit leggy. So again, it is all about that happy medium. If you're able to provide a plant with more bright indirect light, they're going to just perform better for you. Over here is a Philodendron Hederaecium green version for $16.98. Again, this is a Live Trends plant, and it is a plant that I feel like will bring you a lot of joy. It is an easy to care for plant, and I am an advocate when it comes to plant collecting, finding plants that are going to be easy care, because then you're going to be more encouraged to see the growth. Over here, you can see this is an Alocasia Jacqueline. I know I'm probably going to get a little bit of flack for this, but I would not recommend buying an Alocasia Jacqueline, and it's because it's one of the more tricky plants to grow. It's beautiful, but it's one of those plants that requires a little bit more advanced care than the average person might be able to provide. Syndapsis, this one is a nice plant. Again, you can tell that this one needs to get watered because Syndapsis will actually curl its leaves when it's asking for water. So that's the thing about easy care plants. Plants that are easy care will let you know what they need. So sometimes they will droop, sometimes their leaves will curl. That means that you have to water them. But I just can't get over the fact that Costa Farms has provided more, Chameleon ZZ plants. Like, yes, I was not intending to purchase this plant, but I definitely want to purchase it. The one plant I was actually looking for as I did this big box store plant shopping video was to buy a variegated poinsettia because I think they're interesting, they're gorgeous, and I do want to grow a poinsettia beyond the Christmas holiday. I did want to ask, the viewers that are watching this video today, have you done your holiday Christmas shopping if you celebrate Christmas? And are you intending to maybe gift plants or give a plant as a gift over the holiday season? Please leave that in the comments. I do want to know what your insights are. And if you are going to give a gift, are you going to give like a Trending Tropicals Costa Farm plant? Are you going to look for a plant that maybe will be a little bit more cost effective? I'm just curious. But I did line up all of these Chameleon ZZ plants, and you can just see, look at how beautiful the plant is. ZZ plants, some people will sleep on them and not really be into them. For me, ZZ plants, even this Chameleon ZZ, is one of the easiest plants to grow in an indoor space because they can tolerate lower light conditions. Now, for this particular plant, though, this ZZ Chameleon, in order for you to maintain that neon variegation, you definitely have to provide it with more light than the typical ZZ plant. But as far as the cost, yes, it is $19.98, but I feel like that is still a fair price for Costa Farms. Costa Farms has so many trending tropical plants, and I am so excited to continue to make some time to fill these plants. It has been a very hectic, very stressful week in terms of my career, my work, but making these plant shopping videos really is therapeutic for me. I love engaging with the community. Sometimes I'm not able to go chat as much on the live premiere chats, but every comment that you leave for me on my plant shopping videos, I will always respond. And if you haven't followed me already, please make sure you are following me on Instagram. You can send me a direct message anytime. I try to get back to everybody. So, that's another platform that I utilize to just get the community going. Now, as far as these hanging baskets, notice how this is a gorgeous Syndapsis. This one is for $16.98. And then we have a large hanging basket of another spider plant. Really like the look of that as well. I do find it beautiful. And then we also have green Marantha hanging baskets. There are a couple actually that Costa Farms has released. And that's the thing about going to a big box store. You will see that certain nurseries, for instance, like Costa Farms, will release a different type of crop of plants. I did watch a YouTube video that Costa Farms had where basically it takes a couple of years to get enough stock for specific plants. I found that interesting, and then it also made me think about, again, the plants that we see at big box stores. Yes, they have multiples of a specific plant. Yes, they're pretty cost effective, but how many of those plants actually make it into a loving home that's going to be able to provide it? And, as far as plants that go into plant heaven because nobody bought them at a big box store, or maybe the big box store didn't really give them a lot of care, it's just really disappointing. And I think that's a double-edged sword when it comes to just houseplants, and then also just the houseplant market. A lot of these plants just don't make it into a really kind home that's going to provide them and give them the care they need. And I just think about the carbon footprint of like all of these plants. I know that a lot of these big box stores, it's really a scan base type thing. So the big box store doesn't really lose money if these plants end up going into the trash. The only way some of these nurseries, like for instance Costa Farms, and correct me if I'm wrong, make money is when the plant is actually sold. But say the plant just makes it into plant heaven or gets tossed, Costa Farms or a nursery that's providing these plants will not really make any money. And so it is such an intricate business model in terms of just plants, big box stores, or just the demand of plants. Leave it in the comments though, plant foldies, what your insights are, because my insight right now is look at these Aglaonema. This is an Aglaonema Maria, $15.98. And this is what I was talking about with Costa Farms. They have done an amazing job just getting more Aglaonema in the market. I need everybody to buy Aglaonemas. I mean, look at how gorgeous this is. This is just a green version. And I say this is just a green version, but honestly, green is beautiful. Green is a natural color, or at least what's synonymous to plants. And so I feel like if you're gonna buy an Aglaonema, you can still enjoy a green version. You know, Aglaonemas are very colorful, and I'm gonna show you some more colorful Aglaonema. But as far as like the Aglaonema Maria here for $15.98, I bet you if you buy this plant and you follow my care tips, you will be able to grow this plant long term. Like as far as watering, you just water the Aglaonema when it is completely dry. Provide it with bright light, a bright indirect light, or if you put it in a darker space, it will still do well for you, and that's it. I mean, you can see right here, this is that Aglaonema anyamani. I think that's how you pronounce it. $19.98, and I've seen a lot of these particular Aglaonema at a big box store. I love the fact that it's pink. I love pink plants. Everybody loves pink plants, or at least I believe so, especially those my plant foldy, my subscribers. I mean, let me know in the comments if you're a fan of pink plants, and if you are, I am curious if you bought an Aglaonema. Like, look at the foliage, look at the leaves, and you know, as far as like the care tips, it doesn't take that much to grow this plant. It is low light tolerant and drought tolerant, and for $19.98, you will find a plant that, you know, is like these Aglaonema where you have multiple plants in there. Typically, an Aglaonema Costa Farms trending tropical plant will have two main plants that you can separate, and it may have some babies, but look at how beautiful that pink is. I have actually been importing a lot of Aglaonema from overseas. You know, I would say Indonesia as a country has lots of really nice hybrid Aglaonema, and I couldn't help but splurge a little bit, and so I'm just super excited. I ended up buying plants from Green Spaces ID, and what I like about that particular Indonesian seller is I can send them a direct message on Instagram. They will show you, at least show me, the specific plants I'm getting, and I end up also getting a pretty hefty discount just because I've been a loyal buyer from Green Spaces ID. I really love that. And you know, some people have these horror stories where they don't necessarily trust like an overseas vendor, but that's why I'm super lucky, because I've been able to vet out certain, Indonesian sellers like, Green Spaces ID, Art Garden Flowers on Instagram. My friend Riki also has some amazing plants from Indonesia. And there's another Indonesian seller that I bought from last year. And you can see that they have a lot of these Aglaonema golden florets. Beautiful Aglaonema, and you can see that there is a diverse variety of coloration when it comes to Aglaonema. I would recommend this Aglaonema as well. I love the pink stems, and these are all Costa Farms trending tropical Aglaonema, $19.98, and I'm just glad that they've released a lot of them. The one thing I will say about the Aglaonema from Costa Farms, I hope that Costa Farms will release some of their older varieties of Aglaonema. I really just want to see more Aglaonema readily available at big box stores. And then you can see right over here, we do have a Philodendron tortum. I remember when Philodendron tortum was quite expensive a couple years back, about 3 to 4 years ago. And again, Costa Farms has made it possible for us to attain these types of plants. Same thing with all of these different types of Alocasia. You can see that this is the Alocasia reginae, $19.98, beautiful plant as well. I do love that it's in a self-watering planter. Now, as far as a lot of the plants that I have been growing or buying from big box stores, I have been moving them to semi-hydroponic situations or substrates. I like Lechuza Pond. And this plant, though, is a Philodendron Hederaecium neon. Love that as well. That heart-shaped leaf is beautiful. $16.98 by Live Trends Plants. And then we have a Xanthosoma right here. Here's the thing about Xanthosoma. They're almost like a caladium / alocasia. I find that this plant is actually pretty easy to take care of. It will let you know when it needs water because it will start to droop. But what's interesting is when it starts to droop after watering it, within like 2 hours, the plant is totally fine. Some people will say that this plant is actually challenging to grow. In my indoor conditions, it's actually done very well for me. It's actually an easy to care for plant. And then speaking of easy to care for plants, so you can see that this is a ZZ plant for $15.98. It looks like Costa Farms has some new planters. I just wish that Costa Farms would release like very simple planters, but I wanted to walk over here and show you the difference between the green or common ZZ plant as compared to the ZZ plant that's the Chameleon ZZ plant. You can see that they're similar in look, but the green ZZ plant is going to be a lot faster in its growth just because there's no variegation for it. And that's the thing about plants that are not variegated. The green varieties are always going to be a little bit more vigorous in their growth and a little bit easier to take care of. You can see that this one right here has that green foliage. ZZ plants, if you want an easy to care for plant, definitely buy yourself a ZZ plant as well as a Sansevieria. I mentioned this in all of my videos, but Sansevierias or snake plants, $15.98. It's an easy to care for plant. And what I love about this plant is it is readily available. So I can basically show you this plant today, and then when I do a plant shopping video, you know you will see a Sansevieria. I never get tired of featuring this plant. Some people will consider this plant a pretty basic plant, but at this channel, basic is amazing. Basic is the best. Basic is what all we need to get into as far as these plants. I mean, you can see right here, we've got a Syndapsis Trubii Moonlight for $19.98. Another trending tropicals by Costa Farms. And if you notice, this plant has been shown in all of my videos, pretty much all of my videos, and you know, it's surprisingly that I haven't actually bite the bullet on buying this plant, you know, and I think the reason being is I already know that this Syndapsis Trubii Moonlight is going to be available at any point. And that's the thing about certain plants, you know, there is always going to be a want and a need. A need is a plant that you have to buy right then and there. A want is a plant that you can hold off from buying because of either, you know, your plant budget, or if you feel like that plant is always going to be available. Philodendron Hederaecium, again, this is for $19.98. That one is becoming more readily available. And I'm just going to walk around this Lowe's and just kind of show you some more plants. I'm going to pick up a couple of these urban jungle plants right here. This is a Calathea and a bunch of live trend plants. Let me know in the comments section what you think about these plants. And if you made it this far into the video, again, please make sure you're hitting the like button for this video. I definitely would appreciate it. That is one way to really support me. And I am all about getting that, you know, that validation that, you know, my plant shopping videos are appreciated. And if you appreciate my work, my plant content, my plant insights, my plant commentary, please hit the like button. I'd also like for you to just leave comments for me about the plants that you've seen today, what plants you have in your plant collection, and whether you're going to buy an Aglaonema. I know that that is a shameless plug for Aglaonemas, but I have decided that this channel is really going to push that Aglaonema influence. But, you know, as far as the plants that I'm picking up as well, I mean, for the most part, they are fairly easy plants except the Calatheas and the Stromanthes and the Maranthas. And I know that I sound really biased. I hope I don't discourage people from buying like Calatheas, but if I'm going to pick a plant to grow, I would still find those easy to care for basic plants that you would find at a big box store. And even this right here, this is a live trends plant. This is a Ficus elastica, or a rubber tree plant. The only thing that makes it slightly challenging is you do need to provide it with quite a bit of light, but other than that, it's another common plant that you'll find, and it's an easy to care for plant. And then you can see right over here, this Lowe's is always merchandised well, and you can see this is one of my favorite Aglaonema. Call it basic, call me basic, but basic is amazing. $15.98. You'll get several Aglaonema plants in this planter. You can separate it into multiple plants, and I want to buy another Aglaonema pink Siam. You know, as far as investing money, $19.98, I don't mind it because I love pink plants, and look at how gorgeous this is. It is just baffling that a lot of people are not posting more on social media about Aglaonemas or even collecting them. I am a certified Aglaonema collector, and I'm hoping that through my plant shopping videos or my plant content on YouTube, more people will be more excited about Aglaonemas, because look at this pink Aglaonema. This is a pink Aglaonema, pink Siam. Beautiful plant, $19.98, easy to care for plant. You don't have to water this plant as often, like literally you just have to wait for the soil to dry out completely and water it. And even if you underwater it and water it for a little bit longer, like at least go about not watering it for quite some time, this plant will still perform well for you. And that's the beautiful thing about this Aglaonema. And I just love the pink color, the pink Siam and also the Aglaonema red Siam. They're both gorgeous plants, and they're plants that, if you're gonna ask my my honest opinion, you need to have in your plant collection. Same thing with any type of Aglaonema. You can see I'm just picking up this right over here, Aglaonema pink red Siam. That's for $15.98 by Costa Farms. That's in a self-watering planter, and I have moved a lot of my Aglaonema into semi-hydroponic substrates, so Lechuzapon, but I'm actually using Leca. I feel like Leca is also a good semi-hydroponic substrate, and it's done very well for me. It is a little bit more cost effective as compared to growing plants in Lechuzapon. And I'm just gonna keep picking up plants. Let me know again in the comment section what you think of these. And you already know that I will have another big box store plant shopping video tomorrow. So definitely continue to stay tuned into my plant shopping videos. But I don't mind just kind of walking around and showing you some more of these plants that are readily available. You know, we've got the golden pothos, basic plant, a plant that you need to have into your collection, because I mean, look at how pretty that is. And that's only for $15.98. And then you can see this Aglaonema right here looks like it has had a little bit of abuse. Hopefully that will either get clearanced out, and if it is, I'll come back and buy that. But more pink Aglaonema. As you can see, plant foldies, I have no shame in really promoting Aglaonemas. It is one of my favorite genus of plants to grow, and it is an easy to care for plant. I repeat, it's so easy to take care of that I feel like if you really love my my plant shopping videos, you will at least try growing an Aglaonema, especially at Costa Farms Trending Tropical. They're not expensive for the quality of plant that you're gonna get. Obviously, the best time to go big box or plant shopping is now, because it seems like Costa Farms has pushed out a lot of new plants into these big box stores. And that's the thing about big box or plant shopping. You want to try to get these plants as soon as they make it into the big box store, because then they are the most healthy. They're not sitting at a big box store where they could potentially get neglected. Again, here is a Ficus lyrata or fiddle fig leaf tree for $15.98. And I'm just going to keep picking up plants and showing you what plants are available at this Lowe's location. Am excited to see some Vanda orchids available. So I haven't seen a lot of Vanda orchids available at Lowe's. Earlier this year I was able to see it, so it looks like they've been restocked. And what I like about Vanda orchids is they do remind me of my home country, which is the Philippines, and these Vanda orchids are very much endemic to the Philippines. You can pretty much see them everywhere, and I would say Vanda orchids are the queen of all orchids because they've got some massive blooms, and I just really love the fact that they have aerial roots like no other. This plant does not need to be in a substrate at all. It can just grow like that. So it's almost like an air plant. And then obviously we have a bunch of urban jungle hanging baskets and just more Phalaenopsis orchids. You know, Phalaenopsis orchids are beautiful. Their blooms typically last for about a month, and they're pretty easy to care for. I do want to grow some more Phalaenopsis orchids in my plant collection, but again, it is all about trying to be intentional with your plant collection, or at least for me. And I have been somewhat downsizing certain plants that are not bringing me joy, but then I'm also adding so many plants that do bring me joy. So it's a catch-22. It is one of those situations where when you are obsessed about plants or you love plants, you don't really know when to stop buying plants or at least acquiring them. At least that's my situation. I don't really regret it because, you know, plants are supposed to bring people happiness. They definitely bring me happiness. And what also brings me happiness is I can talk to you all about plants for about an hour. And for those that have actually stayed through and watched my videos, I mean, that's just really awesome. I like taking you alongside as I walk through the aisles of a big box store and show you plants like live trends, plants. Again, this is another seasonal setup. Look at how cute these air plants are, and it's really clever that they use these holiday type planters. You can see they've got snowman, and then they have all of these cute figurines right here. Live Trends, again, is one of the nurseries that is always going to be seasonally relevant, and that's really nice. It makes, plant decorating fun, and then with air plants, super easy to take care of plants. It's one of those where if you want to water it, you just submerge it in water, pull it out, let it dry, and that is it. That's, you don't need to put it in a substrate, which makes it more versatile in terms of just putting them in cute little planters like this. Look at this little walrus, that's so cute. And then you can see we've got a polar bear right here with an air plant. These are all for $8.98. And Live Trends, again, it's one of those nurseries that provides really stylistic looking plants and planters. So love that. Let me know in the comments what you think about these seasonal plants and just the holiday type planters. Love the look of that. And, you know, I will continue to go big box stores and give you some more of my commentary, but I am looking for people to leave comments in the comment section, just because I want to know your thoughts. I want to see what you're seeing. I want to see if your big box stores are also pushing out some new plants. You know, that's the way we can all keep each other in the loop, especially about what plants are being released out in the market.
All I want is something to love from you, baby.
Really enjoyed just walking through the aisles of this big box store, Lowe's. You can see that they have so many beautiful plants. Again, please buy Aglaonemas. Buy the Silver Bay, the Aglaonema Red Siam, Aglaonema Pink Siam. Just buy it all. And guys, if you like this video today, please make sure you are hitting the like button for this video. I enjoy talking about the plants and really giving you a lot of plant insights and thoughts. And as always, if you like daily 1-hour plant shopping videos, please subscribe to my YouTube channel at Grow Folds with all the notification bell on. This is Richie. I'll see you on the next one.